Okay, the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq 100. We're going to start off with the Nasdaq first. As you can see, we broke all-time highs here on the Nasdaq again, but you could not mount that level so far. You go to like the 2 hour, you get a better zoom, and you look in. You had the market open right here around 8:30. You shot up, really good push, but ultimately buyers could not hold us there. We kind of came pushing back to the downside. So again, that's where we're at right now. If I had to say there's a clear support, it's a little bit hard to say exactly where. You would have to point one support here around 18.62 roughly. But beyond that, probably back down towards 18.5, 18.520. If I had to mark out specific levels there going into Qs as well, you can see looking for a retest of previous all-time highs right about there, back in a 449.5.6. Locally, a little bit lower right there, 449.4, right? So we'd still be in line to being very bullish here on Qs breaking, retest, and continuation. That's what you'd be looking for, that retest coming into that zone. Now, it's worth mentioning that we've had a pretty good run over the past week, but I still don't believe things are finished yet. Again, ES couldn't hold that previous all-time high, 533, 53.33. You came back below. You can actually see you tried to hold it for a better part of the day, and eventually you dropped back down. So I think after hours here will paint a very interesting picture. I'm also looking for this little bit of a level here, back down basically on the hourly, a little bit of a demand potentially forming out right there. What I'd be looking for if that breaks, you could drop down towards 52.73. But again, I could see this being tested overnight, and I want to see if buyers do step in, not just on our market, but global markets as well. Another area that I want to talk about that I've been discussing is Chinese markets. The stocks like BABA, Pinduoduo, things along those lines. You're heating up, saw good action there, good traction across the board. Pinduoduo showing good signs of continuation as well. So again, this is something that we've been kind of waiting to see is can other markets step in and then not just be America's. And I do think that this will bolster the market as well and keep more confidence. You're also coming back on the Dow back into 40,000 flat. Again, you want to see if you can hold this area. If you hold this, I'm extremely, extremely bullish. It's worth mentioning that Dow has not made a new all-time high yet. You still have yet to come into those ranges up there at 4350. Yeah, right there. Right there. So yeah, that's what I'd be looking at. Now, broad markets, we have to discuss a few things. Let's go into our sponsor.
And now let's briefly talk about my favorite investing app and the sponsor of today's video. If you're interested in trading the exact same broker in which I'm using for options and what I'm doing market research on, this is exactly who I'm using. This is Moomoo. This is their platform on their desktop. You can also check it out for the mobile app as well. This is their live news feed. And if you're thinking about making the switch, right now is a pretty good time because right now they're doing a 1.5% cash reward up to $300 if you transfer in. Or if you're just getting started and you want to kickstart your journey, Moomoo is giving you 5 in each of the Magnificent 7 stocks when you make a qualified bonus. You can go down and scroll and see all of this. It's right there on their website. Check them out. The link is down below.
Today are big opportunities. Okay. Now, first thing, we go into the calendar and you can see that there's nothing really coming into tomorrow. You have some Fed members talking, but that's kind of it. Okay. We'll get some more data next week, but for this week, it's essentially done. The biggest thing on the week is CPI came down. You can go and read Financial Juice, a lot of these other news platforms go a lot in depth about these things, okay? Now, what I will say, okay, you're not out of the woodworks of inflation being handled. You're on the right steps, though. You're headed in the right direction, and you're going to see more and more comments like these from the Fed, right? This is the key area. There's still a lot of pressure in the economy. There's reasons what's happening here. The Fed is being patient, but again, and April was a good sign. I'm pleased with the inflation progress in April, but Fed is not. We're not there yet. Now on the other side of this, you go and look at DXY. What have we talked about? Well, surprise, DXY is bouncing at your 200 SMA. These are risk on versus risk off metrics we have to keep paying attention to. So again, we want to see the DXY can break below our support, 104.17, break, retest, and continue pushing. You go look at 30-year yields. What's happening there? The bond market. Again, you came right into our target, the 200 SMA, and you're bouncing. We never expect to just go straight through these, supports. Just like when we go through a resistance, we don't expect to go straight through it, right? So again, when we have this action, we're looking for a continuation of the downside, getting back below 4.42, and hopefully back on our way down to 4%. That's what we want to see. Over the past few weeks, you've definitely seen the 30-year yield getting crushed, and I think this will continue most likely based on that data that did come out, okay? That's my opinion and visual there. VIX still very low as well. I know I don't cover VIX a lot here, but it's worth mentioning. People are like, well, Tyler, VIX is low. It doesn't need a pop. I think you're thinking about it in the wrong way. VIX is more of an indicator. When VIX is down here, typically the market is most bullish. When it's up here, usually you're getting the most volatility and potential downside, but we don't stay at high volatile levels on the VIX for long, typically. Okay. On top of that, with inflation data and news, again, coming back into oil, what's happening here? I didn't get a chance to cover this a lot this week. I mean, I'm not going to be able to this weekend either just because of everything going on, but it's worth mentioning. This data report on CPI that came out had nothing to do with all of this data in oil right here. This was not really factored in, okay? It just wasn't. So the next reading will have more of the downside factor and what's happening with that metric of supply chain and how it's benefiting inflation to the downside and the deceleration of inflation. So those are things that we need to be paying attention to, and I think the case just gets more and more bullish in that sense. Okay, so that's broad market, what I'm looking at there. Very simply, I want to see SPY and Qs mount previous highs. I want to see Nasdaq get back above 18,707. You mount that, you're cooking. If you're not following on Twitter either, I recommend doing so. I can only say so many things here in a YouTube video once a day, but I'm able to post a lot of my updates that I'm looking at here on Twitter as well. It's all free, so make sure you check that out. Now, equities, what are we looking at here? Let's go really quick into a few of these names. Number one, we're going to go over NVIDIA, but also too, if you're brand new, giving you a heads up right now. If you're seeing our indicators and you're like, what's going on here? What are all these things? Again, the link is down below with Lux Algo. Code OD40. O is an option. D as in drops. 40 for 40% off your first purchase. Give you a heads up. Okay. NVIDIA. You came to our resistance. This is about the 4-hour chart. So we're hitting a brick wall near 946. Okay. You need to mount this. You mount this level. I think you're pushing into 973, possibly even 1,000. You also need to understand NVIDIA, you have earnings coming. They're very soon. I think Tuesday, okay? Yeah, no, Wednesday of next week, May 22nd. Earnings are coming. Again, keep your head on a swivel. Let's actually get rid of volume so it's a little bit cleaner, but that's what we're looking at there. Now, anyone asking me what am I doing here on earnings? What am I trading on Tesla or NVIDIA? I'm going into Moo and looking at the chain here. I'm going to be totally transparent with you guys, okay? Be careful. Don't be a degenerate, okay? Now, I'm going to tell you, if you want to go next week contracts, you're still paying a little bit of a premium. I personally like a little bit more time, and I like to go further out of the money if I'm trading something like NVIDIA or AVGO because you're going to basically guarantee on that volatility. A good example is you get above 946 today, go to the 15-minute chart, and guess what happens, right? NVIDIA goes from 946 very quickly into 958, a $12 move in about 30 minutes. Okay, so those are the types of moves you have to anticipate if buyers do actually step in and you get over these massive key levels. The same thing goes when we got back above 924. You give it 3 hours and you go from 924 into highs of 946, our next level. That's the significance of our key levels and everything we're looking at there. Okay, so definitely worth mentioning. AMAT, Applied Materials, had earnings today as well. They did beat, but you're slightly down, so we'll see their guidance. But overall, that's what I'm looking at there as well. So again, going in there, I think you're fine with more time. I like more time on mine. But again, I wouldn't be trading through earnings is going to be very risky no matter what. So do what you got to do. Don't be a degenerate. Please understand that. Pretty please. So again, AVGO semiconductors. AVGO, we went to all-time highs today. 1445. Great run. You saw sellers step back in. Now, a great sign if you were in AVGO to get the hell out of AVGO would have been right here. You start breaking back below this level, your little previous lows. You break, you flip, and then boom, you get shot down like $20 more. I don't think this means semiconductors are done running. I think you're just kind of pulling back here. Okay, again, I go to the 4-hour chart here. Semiconductors are just coming back down to one of these previous highs here where you almost tried to break out before. Right about there. So again, you're trying to break out. You're trying to get continuation, but you got to see a little bit more so far. Again, we want to see if we could hold and get continuation back into highs. Names like AMD, a great run. Look what happened here on AMD. We've been talking a lot about it. Okay, AMD, you break above our level yesterday, 159, you hold. Today, you push right into 164.5. That's your 2021 high. You get above it, but eventually you end up holding below. So again, those daily candles are very key. Even like the 4 hours, look at the rejections at that level. If you mount this 164.5, I'm very bullish on AMD. I think you can wait till after NVIDIA's earnings to get confirmation there. But again, if inflation's going well, all these other things are going well, I'm very strong on semiconductors, and I don't think the story there is going to end anytime soon. Okay? Now, again, memes, those are kind of doing their thing, kind of coming down. Again, memes, I'll have more of an update for you tomorrow, hopefully, because I think what's going to matter here is the end of the week close when it comes to GameStop, AMC, etc. Because like I keep saying, when it comes to any of these stocks, all I'm looking at is what is happening with the in the money positions. How far can you end in the money? If you end closer to $35, I'm very, very bullish. $30, I'm okay. But if we start holding down here, I don't think it's going to be awesome. I think you need to get more. You need to have a better hold, and I think that you need to get as many contracts in the money as possible. Bare minimum, I think we need to close above is $30 for any type of continuation. Personally, I'm not saying you can't continue, but it would definitely help the case. Home Depot today, I still love Home Depot. You got a little bit of a pullback today. I didn't see any news, but again, still a big fan. You saw names like Walmart and Target get a lot of the love though today. Target as well. Nice gap up and push. But I still think in the Dow, these are still some of the strongest names. I'm still a big fan of Home Depot. I think interest rates coming down, yields coming down will help Home Depot significantly. And I think people are sleeping a little bit on that name as well. But broad market, that's what I'm looking at. Today's video was really quick. Sorry, I have to get in, have to get out. I will see you guys tomorrow for a quick update. Have a good one. Like, subscribe, do what you got to do. See you tomorrow.